What's up, guys? So this is my first video that I'm going to post about my trading. So I've been a on and off again full-time trader since 2014. Um, I started trading in 2014. I went full-time in 2016. I lasted for like a year and a half or so, and then I went plumb broke. Um, I did pretty decent at trading. I had some decent kind of returns. It's not like I was unprofitable, but the mental strain of trading full time with a really small account size got to me after a while, and I kind of just stopped trading and gave up for a few years. I ended up going back to work a full time job, rebuilt an account, and here we are today. So I've been trading full time for 8 months now again. So it took me a good while, like 7 or so years, to get back to this point. Um, Starting to feel pretty good. So I figured, why not start a YouTube channel, kind of record some of my progress, where I'm at, give myself some accountability. And it's really kind of like a video journal for my trading. So today's video is going over the trade I took today. I mainly trade micros right now. So I trade from 7 a.m. ish in the morning US Central Standard Time until roughly 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is what you're seeing right now is my main layout. So I target 2-minute runs. The left side of my screen has the 1 hour, the 10-minute, the 2-minute on it. I use the 1 hour for DDP or direction predictions. So I'm just looking for something to give me like a bullish or a bearish pattern. I'm just looking for the confirmation of reversals because I basically just trade reversals in the market. And then I'm looking for certain price action to occur on the 10-minute and the 2-minute. The 2-minute is king in this kind of layout. There's other layouts I use, like this 4-hour layout or this daily or this weekly or this monthly. And they all just kind of go up and up and up and up and up. But the main one I'm kind of vibing with right now is trading micro time frames. Some would consider it to be scalping. I don't really believe I'm a scalper. It's not like I'm going like candle by candle kind of bullshit that some people do. I have some pretty solid strategies. I have a pretty decent strike rate right now, hovering just a little bit below 70% or so from the beginning of this year, with 30 or so trades under my belt from the beginning of the year. So doing pretty well. So far this week, I've taken 2 trades. Took a trade yesterday for a profit of 1.24 and took a trade this morning for a profit of 1.3 R. I kind of fucked up the trade a little bit. I exited a little too early, but there was some news coming in, and we'll get into it. So that's pretty much about my past. I've been trading for a while, and I'm looking to really grow my account this year. I'm really trying to like hammer it home. So I'll be going over trades on this channel. I'll be going over building watch lists on this channel. If you want to follow along, cool. If you don't, cool too. It's kind of just for me to look back on at some point in the future and see how far I've come. So let's get into it. So the trade I took was dollar Swiss at roughly 8 o'clock this morning, I think is when it was. And maybe easier if we just go back in time here a little bit to about there. Let's get that out of the way. All right, so I trade reversals, right? There's kind of 4 main strategies I employ, and they're either designated as like an ABO, so an advanced breakout, an IBO, an initial breakout, a CBO, a complete breakout, or an ACB, continuation pattern. I don't trade a lot of ACBs, and I don't trade a lot of ABOs. I mainly trade IBOs and CBOs. They're kind of my bread and butter right now. It's what I feel the most comfortable with. But I do track and I'm paying attention to ABO setups and some ACB setups. And these are all kind of strategies that I've learned from a mentor I've had for a decade now. So he's been using these strategies and perfecting them for a decade, over a decade, 12 or 13 years, I think. And he performs at an extremely high level, and he has for that entire period of time. And still today, he's still actively trading and absolutely killing it. So the strategies in which I'm using are basically the ones that he's kind of developed, and I've just tweaked them a little bit to suit my own personality and style. So this would be considered a CBO per those strategies. So it's a complete break of both the 2-minute 50 EMA and 200 EMA. If it just broke the 50 EMA, and then say the 200 EMA was just chilling up here, then it would be an IBO. So an IBO only breaks the 50. The CBO breaks the 50 and the 200 on the 2-minute chart, or the 10-minute 50. The 2-minute 200 is the 10-minute 50, right? So, and then I'm use Fibonacci levels. The strategy itself is pretty simple. I'm looking for some kind of like structure. So in this case, I'm looking for some kind of bearish structure, which I have here, right? And then I'm looking for a break past that structure. So I'm looking for a formation of, in this case, I got like a double bottom here, and then I get a higher high. So I get my first kind of confirmation of a trend change. And then I'm just looking to enter on that formation of the higher low. So the second bit of the confirmation of a trend change, of a reversal. So right now I'm testing limit order entries. I've been using live order entries for a long time, which like a live order entry would be waiting for a break of the 5-second or the 15-second 50 EMA. So the indicators I use are the same ones on every chart. It's either the 200 EMA, the 50 EMA. They're on every single one of these charts that I use. And as well as I use MACD. I've deleted some of the stuff from the MACD. I basically just use this middle blue line. And I look for divergence, which I had here on this trade, right? So price is kind of continuing as in a bearish trend, but on MACD is starting to push bullish. So that just is an indicator for me to go, okay, I can see that the price action is starting to decelerate. I can see that a possible reversal is about to happen. And I just look for some more confluence by looking at the MACD. But I could trade without it, to be honest. I look at it seldomly, but it's not going to make or break a trade for me. And then I use pivots. Technically, my pivot indicator, it's got everything turned off except for the day or the hour that I'm in. So if I'm targeting a 1 hour kind of DDP, then all these pivots are based off of 1 hour, except for this pivot on my 1 hour chart. It would be your daily pivot. And then I've got everything turned off on it from S1, R1, all that. And then I've only keep one of the pivots on for the block of time that I'm trading. I don't really care to see it backwards or forwards. Sometimes I'll go turn them on the backwards side of things when I have to go say take a screenshot like I did with this trade to just show the pivot that was there. But as when I'm actively trading, that's what the settings look like. So this trade honestly was pretty picture perfect. The only kind of like weird bit was this little price action right here, but still had this nice kind of trend line, had horizontal support, had a double bottom, a break up, so a clear higher high. And I'm just looking for this retest of the pivot level. And the other thing I use is Fibonacci's. So I enter mainly all of my trades off 0.382 Fib. So I'm looking for a break and retest of 0.382 Fib, the pivot, and an EMA. So in this case, it's a CBO. I'm looking for the 50 and the 200 to be below those Fib level, essentially. To be kind of like, I'm looking for the EMAs to be between 0.382 and 0.618 Fib. If it retests it, cool. If not, cool. Like I said, I'm testing limit order entries right now. So that is, if the price essentially hits my level, it'll automatically trigger me. And I'm not really doing live entries. I'm still seldomly doing it if like I feel like price needs to develop a little bit more. But in this case, it's pretty well there. And with these micro trades, you can see that like the window to enter is very small. So what I've been finding is I'm used to waiting for a live entry, but I've been missing a lot of trades in the past, couple of months as I've been trying to transition over to trading micro time frames. And I've been missing those because I'm sitting here waiting for price action to decelerate and give me a clear break. But also by the time it does that and gives me a clear break, it'll shoot up in like 5 or 10 seconds and then it's outside of my entry window. Like I have to enter the trades around 0.382 or my position sizing doesn't quite fit and it doesn't really make sense anymore. So, because I target mainly 2-to-1 positions. So I'm targeting, like in this case, is a 2-to-1 trade. And it's a 5-pip trade. So my stop loss is 5 pips. I'm risking 5 pips to try and make 10 pips. But for the trade, clear break, higher high, come down for the lower low, triggers me in, and then pretty much reverses perfectly from this point. There's some management that I do. It's labeled as P1, P2, and this is just where I start to move my original stop loss, which would be, down here. P1, I'll usually clip just below whatever the previous low was. So you can say if I entered here, but price continued down a little bit down there and then kind of shot up like down here. I mean, like up like that. When the 30-second chart breaks the 50 EMA, like a clear break of the 50 EMA, I will go to P1. And so that's what happened here. If price had come down, I would clip that low. But in this case, price just kind of took off from the original point. So I just clipped right there on the chart. So I'm probably go to make this a little larger so you can see I clipped about right there. And then P2 comes into play, right? And P2 for me is when price kind of like comes back and retests the 30-second 50 EMA of support and then gives me like a confirmation bullish or bearish push. Just depends on which direction I'm trading. In this case, I need a bullish push because that's the direction I'm going. So it gives me that bullish push. It gives me that, confirmation of new support here. And so I'll clip those lows. And that's what I did right here. So basically move the trade most of the time to like a break-even point. So there's no longer any risk on this trade for me. And I'm just kind of chilling. Price continues to push over the next few minutes. And I exited manually a little too early on this trade. So this trade ended up running for the full 2R. If I would have captured it, probably not. Because the third piece of my management style right now is to go to something called P3, which would be to lock in the 1. So on this trade, my 1 is roughly right here, right? So as price is pushing, even up, say if I didn't close here and it comes and it continues to push up here, I would be either exiting on a break of this 5-second 50, or I would set my stop loss to my 1-to-1. So the least I would take is once I'm like into a trade, I'm sitting at like 1.5 running profit, I'm going to move my stop to usually lock in that 1-to-1 or exit on a trend change, which could be a break of that EMA. So if I exit on a trend change of the break of that EMA, I would ended up with the same result. If I would have locked in the 1, then I still would have got tapped out right there for a 1-to-1 on this trade. So same result if I followed the management to the T. The only other thing I'm testing right now, and I got a spreadsheet in which I'm tracking it, is I'm considering getting rid of the P1, P2 and just doing no management. And then I'm also considering just moving trades to break even and then either letting them play out to full target or go to break even. So I've got a spreadsheet that I'm tracking it right now. And so far, the no management is winning by nearly double the returns, but I only have 20 or so trades in that spreadsheet. So I'm trying to get about 100 spread trades in that spreadsheet before I make a call if I want to make a change or not. But for the moment, this is the management style that I use. It works very well on higher time frames. So if you're trading like the 4-hour layout, if I'm targeting 10-minute runs, or primarily if I'm trading daily setups and I'm targeting 1-hour runs, then the P1, P2, P3 works out pretty well. I'm just finding that it has some drawbacks in the micro time frame realm, because I've never really traded micros except for the past 2 months. I've been giving it a shot, and I'm liking it so far. I like how quick it is. I like that if you're right or if you're wrong within, this trade I was in lasted, what is this, a little over 20 minutes. Most of my trades are like 10 to 15 minutes. And then occasionally you get like maybe an hour-long trade. But versus I come from trading this daily time frame and targeting 1-hour runs where I'm in a trade for 6, 8, 10 hours waiting for it to fully play out, which can get kind of annoying just because most of the time when you're trading this layout, for me, I'm building watch lists roughly around this time every day, around like 4 o'clock Central is when the market turns over for me. And then I'm waiting after that hours and maybe until anywhere from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning that an entry could occur. So, and then you're up managing that trade. So I'm liking the micros right now just because like I can build a set schedule around it. Like I get on the charts around 7, I get off around 12 or 1. That's it. So either way, that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about my trading style. As I continue to post videos, you'll see more and more and more, and more examples. So this is the trade I took. Overall, clean trade. I really like it. I don't have much qualms with it, other than it did play out for the full 2. I wish I could have captured it, but it is what it is. So right now, once I get over 1 hour in a day, I kind of just chill. But like I said, I'm doing some, like I call it my spring 2025 project right now, which is logging like every trade that would occur micro time frames wise in an hour session block, as well as building 4-hour watch lists. So every 4 hours, I'll come in here and build a watch list and see what kind of 10-minute runs could have been captured. So for example, I had one earlier on this dollar Mexican trade. So it didn't really quite get back to the point of being able to trigger me in here. Because I'm also kind of testing these with limit order entries. As you can see with my style, sometimes it'll tap it, that area, and then just go afterwards. So it doesn't always give the amount of time I need to get into the position. So, but this was a pretty solid trade. It had a good upwards trend, a clear break of it. This is a 4-hour CBO. It's a clear break, retest of previous support, now resistance, 0.382, the EMAs, and then push back down. So, but it just didn't get triggered in. It nearly triggered me, but not quite. So, but I'll build these watch lists every 4 hours or so. So I'll build one around 8 o'clock my time, another one around 12. And then we'll build one here when I do my watch list here in a minute. Other trades I could have taken today and I didn't was this pound dollar. This was an IBO. So the little bit of price action right here kind of sketched me out a little bit. Let's go to about there so you can see the pivots. The pivots on this didn't really line up, right? But it kind of decelerated, gave me a break of this, bearish structure, gave me a higher high, came back for the lower low. Similar concept to the last trade, right? Just this isn't a break and retest of both the EMAs, it's just of the 50. And that's the main one that matters. I mainly take IBOs, which is this kind of setup. This would be considered an IBO. Um, I just prefer it to be at the beginning of the hour so that my pivot will line up and whatnot. But you can trade them off of like S1 or R1 or S1 as well. So it was a valid setup. It's a valid trade. I just didn't take it. So it's a 2R that I missed out on today. And then Pound Aussie was another trade that I was watching at the time of the entry. I position sized it, and because I'm already sitting at 1.3R for the day, I'm not really actively trading. I'm just kind of keeping my eyeballs and stuff. But this thing played out beautifully. Had this, kind of bearish trend, which decelerated at a good level, the 200 EMA on the 1 hour chart, which is the daily 50 EMA. Had some okay-ish support there, kind of a tap here, 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 in this kind of area. So multiple kind of points. Had a great descending triangle here, and price is getting wedged. And so this would be considered like an ABO. Preferably, I wait for these ABOs to break out and then give me a pullback for that IBO and then take that. That's like my go-to setup, bread and butter. If that's what occurred, that's what I look for it to occur every time. But you can take ABOs. They're just a little riskier, right? There's a good possibility to just continue downwards. But in this case, there's a lot here. It's a valid ABO in my eyes. And again, it played out beautifully. And this is the risk to waiting for the ABO to occur so you can take the IBO. It's just sometimes they don't pull back. Like sometimes it'll just break out and just run. And that's what this trade did. It just kind of ran beautifully all the way to target. So this was position size for a 4-to-1. It didn't quite hit the 4-to-1 all the way, but I would have roughly exited on this EMA break for the 5-second because, it's holding really the 15 and the 5-second all the way up. It has a beautiful, easy trend to follow here. And as soon as it broke that's where I would look to exit. And if I would have taken this trade, I would have captured about 3.4, 3.5 R. So if you add that to the pound dollar trade, then technically I've left at this point 5.4R on the table. It kind of sucks. So I'm used to trading the daily time frame, and it's just like you don't run into this many trades. Like that's what I'm noticing about trading micros is there's trades everywhere. Like there is opportunities to make money everywhere. And it's a little overwhelming. It's kind of insane, but it's also really cool. Like there's some days that if I would have taken every trade that was in front of me that I saw, I'd be up like 11, 12R in a day, where, some of my best months ever have been like 11 and 12R. So there's a lot of potential. Still getting used to micros a little bit, but I'm starting to figure it out. I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable. Feeling good about them. I'm seeing stuff like this constantly, so it feels good. And my strike rate is in a good spot right now. And overall, my stats are in a good spot right now. So feeling good. And then this trade played out also for an IBO. So it just was a much later IBO, not as clean or pretty, but it still is an IBO, right? So it breaks out, comes back for a retest of 0.382 fib and the 50 EMA, though it kind of is rejecting the 200 EMA, which I don't like to see normally. Normally, I would want this EMA to be up here still and then have a break and then a retest of the 50. And then my target is going to be the 200 EMA. Um, but you still can take setups like this as well. And if I was down for the day and I was still needing to take some trades, this is an IBO that I would entertain. Same position size. This position was a 10 pip. This is also a 10 pip position. And it was just a 2-to-1 trade, and it also played out beautifully for that 2-to-1. So with just either a live entry kind of here or a limit order, would have played out for both. Very little management need to be done with this trade. Kind of just ran straight to target. So right there, you had 5.4, and then plus the other pound dollar 2R. It was like 7.4R I left on the table today. So pretty fascinating. Could have added that to the 1.3 I captured and would have been what is that? Like an 8.7 R day-ish, something like that. So a lot of potential in micros. So pretty cool. But it's 5 o'clock for me now. I still build daily watch lists just because sometimes with these daily watch lists, it'll be a pretty clean setup and I can just, trigger it and then go to bed and then wake up and have some profit or a loss. You never know. But more so, it gives me an idea of like some higher time frame biases that have good DDPs that I can then trade on micros the following morning. So for instance, this dollar Swiss, I identified the day before as like a CBO, right? So I have this kind of like trend line broke here. I got a higher high coming down for a higher low and a continuation of bullish push, have good price action on the 4-hour. Daily time frame, meh, but it's all right. But the 4-hour and the 1-hour there. So, and then I ended up using this bias when I went down 2 levels and I took this micro time frame trade first thing this morning. So in this pair, I now know that I have the upper time frame bias of bullish, and then I'm just swapped down 2 levels, and then I'm sitting here kind of scouring for IBOs, CBOs to occur, and that's what I got here was that CBO and took it long. So let's clear some of this out, as well as kind of like look at what happened from the day prior. So I don't use limit order entries on daily time frame trades. From my experience, they don't work. I mean, they can. It's a lot better to wait for true price deceleration, wait for a valid entry on these the right side here, so these micro time frames, than it is to use limits. It's kind of fascinating to me that limit orders are proving to be better for me so far on the micro time frame trading. So targeting that 2-minute run, but when targeting a 1-hour run, I don't really like to use them. So it's like on this Euro Swiss trade, I'd be waiting for price to come down to this level. And if I use the limit order, it'd just trigger me right here, and this would have been a full loss. But would want to see some price deceleration. I'd want to see something like a micro time frame double bottom, a break of this EMA, something. But this really just kind of held that bearish trend all the way down. So this would have been a no trade. It didn't really play out. Like this was also sort of kind of a CBO as well. It was a little weird price action right here, but it was something. It had an edge, but it didn't play out. And we, of course, had the dollar Swiss. It did play out. We had this Euro pound, similar to the Euro Swiss. Kind of a wave 5 CBO rather. So this would have been a wave 3 CBO, and you kind of have a chance at a wave 5. But when a wave 3 occurs, the chance of the wave 5, in my experience so far, isn't very high. But if you need to trade, you need to trade. So this is something that could have been taken. It just would have been later in the day, like something like that. but it would have ended up at a loss anyways. So it's not something I took. It was just an option. Pound dollar was the inverse of euro pound. So it was going short here. I think it was just kind of on here to look at it, but pretty ugly price action, to be honest. And then pound yen was a possible short. It didn't really push up into the level I was looking for, kind of held the EMAs and just continued downwards. So this is one, if you had a limit order and maybe you took this down just a pip, or, a few pips, you could have changed your position sizing a little bit. I didn't fully position this thing correctly as it was. So just kind of threw it there to watch, but played out. That guy. I think dollar knock is still one I'm kind of watching here. It's at an interesting level, right? So it's still going to be on watch for me. Well, let's get a replay here. Yeah, it's still going to be on watch for me today, just to see if I can maybe catch some micro time frame kind of plays out of this. It's kind of weird sideways price action, but it is starting to squeeze the price into this descending triangle-ish overall. So you have this support level it's holding right now, and it's held it in the past, at multiple times, mainly in this area. So it's a pretty solid support area. And it's decelerating and squeezing. So what I'm anticipating to happen at some point is for the price to push up here. So it's not really respecting the 1 hour 50, but it is respecting the 4 hour 50. And it's respecting the 4 hour 50 pretty well. So if it breaks up past the 4 hour 50, it'll be a solid, CBO to take long. But I'm just sitting here waiting for something to happen here. You could take this as an ABO, but at this point, since it's kind of just been diddling along here, I'd prefer to wait for the extra confirmation of the breakout and then take the pullback. And then EuroCAD. What did I have EuroCAD on here for? So wave 1, 2, wave 3, and possibly a wave 4 CBO. Had a slight push upwards. So if, again, micro time frame wise, this trade did play out. I was watching it, didn't enter it. But if I flip back over to the micro time frames, it was in here that it occurred. Let me move this a little bit. So if you look at this here, so as far as like a limit order entry, this one wouldn't have worked. It would have just straight up been triggered out. But like a live order in would have worked, I think. What time was this? Was it 8? Let's just go there. So, but a live entry on this would have been roughly here. And if you would have taken this trade here, then it would have played out to target. A very fast trade. I mean, this trade had occurred in 15 minutes, but it was catchable, and it was based off of that DDP from my daily watch list. So the day trade, the 1 hour trade didn't work out, obviously. Just would have been a full loss. But this IBO right here was pretty solid. Very solid trade. Cool. Let's clear this out. Clear, leave that there. Get rid of those. So I scan every pair for Forex that is available on my broker. I mainly only trade, for micro time frames, I mainly just trade dollar and CAD pairs, primarily dollar pairs, just because I have the best spreads, as well as I get the best leverage on dollar pairs. Um, the spreads are a little bit worse on CAD, and then there's a couple of different pairs. This is really my micro time frame watch list. Most of these I can trade, like the spreads are manageable. Um, I I can't, like, the lowest I can really go on a dollar pair is say 5 pips. I can't necessarily take some of these other guys at 5 pips, but I could take them at like 10. So, and there's micro time frame trades that happen around 10 all the time. Let's get after it. Let's build this daily watch list. So what I'm looking for are just price to be at some kind of level. I'm looking mainly at my 1 hour chart here, and then as well as my daily chart up here. And then I've used my 4 hour to filter a little bit. So hopefully we'll run into something and I can show you how I use the 4 hour to filter. So this could have been an IBO-ish, but not really a great one. But this is kind of how I would use the 4 hour to filter though a little bit. Like, this isn't something I'd be targeting a large breakout on just because it's hitting this, daily 50, 4 hour 50, kind of just looks like an overall pullback to that area. But it did kind of have an IBO-ish. It's not a very good one. I think I had this on 4 hour watch. I did. Yeah. So this had this at my last 4 hour watch list of the day. I didn't pull back fully to give me an entry, but have a kind of a clear break CBO on for the 10-minute time frame. Played out on this daily. It would basically playing out as well. Very similar kind of trade. It's not really a way to get into it. Let's flag that. Potential CBO. CAD moved a lot today. I think it was some tariff news possibly that came out or something. They had some crazy moves. Look at that a little further. CAD yen. I don't really love it, but we'll look at it some more. Pound CAD. Aussie pairs the past few days too have had some pretty nice moves. I think that's the pair I caught yesterday was Aussie dollar. Interesting trade, interesting level. You have like a double top here on a 1 hour. You have a double top here on the 4 hour and daily. Got MACD divergence. We'll look at it a little further. Similar thing to, oh, this is Euro Kiwi, no wonder. Similar thing to Euro Aussie, but Euro Kiwi, I leave it on here just so I can look at, pair correlations. But it's really hard for me to trade this pair because my spread usually on it is like 7 for whatever reason with my broker. So it's the worst spread I have when it comes to one of these major pairs or minors. Pound Aussie is something I've been watching for like a week or so now. There's been a number of different trades on this. There's a trade here, trade here. Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a pretty solid pair to trade over the past week or so. Hell, even I think maybe even like 2 weeks. Pound yen is something we already talked about. Yeah. So most of the yens yesterday were on watch. They all kind of all had similar moves. Pound kiwi. Flag it, so keep watching it. I had this on watch as well for 4 hour. It's my favorite 4 hour setup of the last 4 hour session of the day. I really just wanted to pull back, and I was gonna entertain taking this one, even though I was at my daily target. But it's kind of like it's my bread and butter. Pretty solid. You know, it's at a nice support level. Has a clear break of trend, coming back for the retest of that. It's wave 1, wave 2, looking to target that wave 3. And targeting a wave 3 run is usually like the highest probability for me. So it would have been a solid trade. It just didn't pull back all the way. Played out, just didn't pull back per my strategy. Let's go back. Look, a little touch bit. Where we at? So we'll flag it. I like it. Okay. Dollar Mexican I had on my 4 hour too. Yeah, we talked about that one. This trade right now is it's a decent IBO. Didn't quite pull back for that 4 hour, that 10-minute CBO, but it could give us a 1 hour IBO. Dollar knock we've already talked about. I don't trade beyond kind of like these US exotics and then these main pairs here. The rest of these are all exotic pairs that my broker offers. I don't trade them a whole lot, but I do like to look at them for different kind of biases. So if I'm noticing dollar knock maybe has a setup, I'm able to look at CAD knock or Euro knock and see what those are giving and see if they're giving the same kind of vibe. That maybe price is decelerating on all of them and it's all starting to look like they're about to have a bullish push, i.e. a knock weakness, right? So just the extra confluence layer I can layer on top of trades. This CAD peelin's interesting. It's just the spread on it's untradeable if it stays like this. So I'll flag it just because it's interesting price action, see if the spread comes down at some point, but typically I can't trade it. Like this is an interesting trade. Euro Huff, can't trade it due to the spread, but you have this breakdown, a pullback. I bet you this is probably 0.3, not quite 0.382, but it is kind of decelerating here at this daily 50, daily 200 level. You have kind of a break of this area, right? So a break of that kind of area, a retest, pull back to here, take it short, you know. typical just IPO. So if I saw this on like micro timeframes, I'd more than likely take it. If I have a bearish DDP, I've got my bearish breakdown that I'm looking for on my 1 hour, and then I'd just be looking for the micros to confirm it. But can't trade this thing. Could argue that I'd waste time by looking through all this stuff, but I like it for the added practice, if anything. More repetitions, more sharpening the edge, more stuff to look at. Could also argue you should do less to make more, but the current stage I'm in is I feel like I need repetition, repetition, repetition. So I don't feel like I've perfected my edge yet, 100%. I'll probably feel like that one day when I'm bathing in money, you know? But for the time being, I keep taking these extra reps. All right, I'm gonna do a last quick scan, see if there's something I missed. I feel like that trade already happened. All the stuff I didn't flag. The Aussie pairs are still interesting to me, like all of them are. Just some of them look weird. Or sitting at EMAs or sitting at kind of like daily levels that just sketch me out to try and trade through. Like what I'm looking for mainly is room to move. So I want to see like this daily chart, how it's breaking down right here. Like I want to see room to go until I get to the next kind of support level in this case, or an EMA or something. So, which is what this year Aussie has. All right, let's move these suckers to our daily watch list. It's here. And let's group them up. So I've got some CAD pairs on watch. So a CAD section. I have some Aussies, some pounds, a Swiss. Appealing goes with that. Honestly, this Kiwis and the Aussies are all pretty similar. I think I'm just going to keep these grouped together. They all kind of have the same bias. Kiwi almost always follows Aussie from what I've found over time. Go clear our alerts. Let's go after this. So now that I've filtered down to possible trades, I'm looking for some primaries of each group. I.e., like what is the best trade out of this CAD bunch right here? Is what I'm trying to determine right now. Sometimes it could be one, sometimes they could all just kind of be secondary trades, like something to watch, but they need some more development. And sometimes it can be clear as day, like this is a primary, this is a great trade. So we have that level there, which would be 200. This one. You kind of have a break of that. If we when I position size, I'm looking at around 0.382. I'm looking to put my stop around 0.618. And I'm looking to at least get a 1-to-1 to the 1 hour in this case, because I'm using my daily setup. Open and close price action, right? Sometimes it can be, if I'm like sitting here where I'm like 1.15, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to extend this stop a little larger. As long as it's around 0.618, sometimes it's a little less, just depends on sizing. And then I'm roughly targeting a 2-to-1 to S1 or R1, depending on if it's bullish or bearish. So in this case, R1. So this would be a 15 pip and then a 30 pip target, roughly. And I'll set an alert here. So I feel like this has potential. You have some bullish MACD here. Probably have some bullish MACD here as well, right? Have a break of this trend. First push, a wave 1, wave 2 pullback, retest these EMAs, 0.32 pivot, CBO, and then wave 3 long for 2-to-1. So I like it. It's better than CAD yen. CAD yen's still kind of weird. Like if it starts to pull back here, it's kind of already had a little bit of pullback, but if it starts to pull back, it's gonna be below that 200. It's kind of also testing it there, so I don't necessarily care for CAD yen to take. Euro CAD and pound CAD are very similar. Kind of how like Aussies and Kiwis follow each other, Euro and pound usually follow each other-ish. Pretty similar. These could very well play out, but they feel a little trappy sometimes. I don't love it. Is there an edge here? Yeah, I think there is. I think there for sure is an edge here. If you position size one of these real quick. Pretty simple to do. So 43 pip position, 86 pip target, something like that, right? So does it have DDP? You have a bearish engulfing candle. So DDP's there. Potentially also a lower high. So again, bearish confirmation. You have a break of a bullish trend. Wave 1 to pull back to retest as a CBO, and then continuation downwards. Overall, this thing's been bearish for a while. The thing that sketches me out, though, is this level right here, which if it pulls back, it could be rejecting this. So it can either blow past through all this stuff at this point. It could just be an overextended, was this wave 1, 2, 3, overextended wave 4, and then it could push to be the wave 5 instead of necessarily being a new pattern. It's the only thing that sketches me out. But it's a possibility. It has an edge. Pound CAD, Euro CAD, I think they're both pretty similar. If I had a preference, I'd probably pick Euro CAD over pound CAD. And then CAD PLN, I can't really trade this, but we're just watching it. So my primary out of this group would be it's CAD Swiss. So I like the CAD Swiss. I mean, they all kind of have similar vibes, right, as Euro CAD did with this kind of level here. It's just CAD Swiss looks like it's a little past that level, you know. Technically, if it pulls back, it'll be back below it, but all pretty similar. I just think CAD Swiss is probably the best. Euro Aussie. Has potential, but I don't love how it's sitting at this EMA, the 4-hour 50, 1-hour 200. These can pull and then retest and continue on, but I don't know. I don't love it, love it. And I'm just kind of watching Pound Aussie to see what happens with it for the next few days. It's interesting. I don't love the price action for maybe a short, but it also could be a long. But the daily chart's starting to look nice, but it hasn't really given a trend confirmation or a trend change yet. You know, still kind of bullish on the 4-hour, still kind of bullish on the daily. I mean, technically it's starting to reject this area up here, but it hasn't really confirmed it yet. So a confirmation for that would, for me, would be like a breakdown here and come back and retest some of these levels. Just keep my eyes on it. Because usually stuff like this, if it starts to break down over the night, tomorrow, it could give me an opportunity to take this trade as a micro at some point. Pretty similar. Kiwi Swiss, CAD Swiss. The Swiss had a pretty big move today too. A lot of Swiss weakness in the market today. What I don't love about this trade is that it's already sitting at R1 and the 250 4-hour EMA. So I'd prefer this to have pushed to this level here, roughly, and then pulled back down here, and then taken it to that level. But with it already sitting here, do these IBOs play out? Will it pull back and then still continue on? Yeah, I see it happen all the time, but it's just my preference that it doesn't touch like the 200 or 50, the 200 1 hour, or the 50 4-hour EMA or R1 first. So something I have flagged, keep an eye on. If there was nothing else to trade and I needed something in front of me to trade, I'd entertain it. But with having like CAD Swiss here that doesn't really have anything in the way from my entry to my target, right? Like it's just a clear path there. There's not stuff in the way that it can potentially hit and reject and not get to my target. Then the probability of this playing out, I view as higher than, say, the probability of price already rejecting my target level, coming back down to give me an entry, and then going back to reject the same level again, you know? But it happens. It still does happen. I still do take these trades occasionally, but I typically will only entertain this if I don't have anything else on watch that day. So, and this pound Mexican. This is something I was looking at 4 hours, so we've already gone over it a little bit. Same kind of price action going on. We got like 64. Oops. 64, 12, 80. Does that work? No, it looks like it works. Yeah. Solid rejection of the trend, break of the trend. Probably have MACD, I bet. So you have MACD divergence, you have bearish MACD divergence while price is continuing upwards. So just telling us, hey, price at some point is going to start reversing. And this is kind of that confirmation of that MACD as that breakdown passed. Daily wise, we're sitting in kind of just a zone, support and resistance zone. You can maybe, I'll do sometimes come in here to whatever the high was at last touch, throw in a horizontal support and resistance and kind of see what rejections we get and if it's been respected in the past. And it has rejections. It's not the best, but it's not terrible either. So like I said, it's really kind of a zone around this line is the support and resistance area. In this case, the resistance area. So you also have some pretty big MACD, bearish MACD coming on the daily chart as well. And price has just been trucking on along the entire time. So I like this trade well as well. I'd flag it primary. I like the overall bearish bias on it. Yeah. I think the only negative I see right now is this 4-hour chart. So it's kind of something you'd have to trade through and just ignore. But wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, this could be considered a wave 5 CBO on a 4-hour. But it also could be considered a wave 3 IBO on a 1-hour. So you have kind of conflicting bias between the 4-hour and the 1-hour. Is the only main kind of issue I see with this trade. Now, if price action also kind of broke and gave a lower high on the 4-hour, which it's not doing right here, then and have both the 4-hour and the 1-hour in alignment, I feel a lot better about this trade, but that is kind of one of the one negatives that I see. But yeah, so that's my watch list for April. Really, this is the April 1st. Yeah, April 1st, 2025. And we'll see how it plays out. There's some possibilities in here, a lot of CAD. Also some possibilities with these Swiss pairs. I mean, Kiwi pairs. And then dollar Mexican. Well, cool. This video is a little bit longer than I anticipated. The first one to go, but that's some stuff to go over. I'll continue putting these things out probably each day. I'll go through the trades I had for that morning session and then build a watch list like we did today. So if you got any questions or anything you want to know from me or anything I can help with, just leave them in the comments below and catch you next time. Peace.